FMS made some pretty big claims in the description of their Beaver V2, so we decided to put it to the test in the stock configuration. Once assembled, we went right into the fly outside the box mentality and gave hovering a shot. Hovering and torque rolling was easier than throwing on an FAA-certified drone pilot vest. Despite a relatively small elevator surface, there is more than enough authority. We like to pop the plane into a hover using flaps, and then once the nose is pointed into the sky, we quickly raise them. From there, she likes to just hang out with minimal effort required from the pilot. FMS states that the plane weighs in at 3,800 grams and produces 5,000 grams of thrust. Not quite 2-to-1 power, but more than enough to safely pull out of a hover with. Speaking of pulling out, another thing we love about the aircraft is how easy it is to transport. Normally, a huge negative for us with these larger airframes is that the struts are a pain in the dump truck to connect. FMS made their struts easier to connect by using a single body pin for each wing half. Upon receiving our model, the right wing's strut hole wasn't drilled out enough to get a pin through, so we had to bore it out ourselves. No biggie. Like most of the industry is doing, the wings and their servo leads connect easily with all-in-one quick wing connectors. We love the ease that these provide, but there's always a small part of us that wishes regular servo connectors were a thing so we could play with the flapper-on mixes like the real Beaver has. While we're on the topic of the wings, we did some stall testing and we're very impressed.
Holding it, holding it, holding it, holding it, nice.
We didn't get a chance to test it out ourselves because we don't have a glider yet, but there is a slot that allows a glider tow release that comes up through the top of the fuselage. With the ample power this plane has, we're sure it could even tow your mom to the moon. Much like Whistling Diesel's Monster Max, FMS markets the Beaver wheels as being large enough for rough field operation. We went to one of our local bush flying spots to give it a shot. As you could probably tell, it did hold up. The field was extremely rough with tall grass, and the Beaver handled it without issue. Believe it or not, the type of surface you should be aware of with this model is smooth pavement. We love the challenge, but if you're flying off of a hard surface, this is one of the most difficult planes to keep tracking in a straight line with. For this reason, we recommend taking off in a 3-point attitude with it. When it comes to landings, we'd also recommend sticking to 3 points because this plane likes to point about as straight down the runway as an unconscious freeway driver.
What the f***?
This is an excellent model to get to improve your stick and rudder skills, and we highly recommend it for this reason. Its ground handling characteristics aren't the only stick and rudder skills this model requires. Pilots should also be prepared to use the rudder in the air for once, because like the real Beaver when applying ailerons in a turn, adverse yaw will always prevail. By this, we mean the nose will swing outside of a turn, so you'll need to use your rudder to correct for it. Yes, before you comment, you can just program a mix in, but automation is already replacing jobs in America, so why bother? Most manufacturers boast about how their plane flaps increase slow flight handling, but FMS actually did it right. They claim realistic flaps for excellent slow speed performance, and they hit the nail on the head. The Beaver comes with slotted flaps, which increase the amount of lift the wing provides without the excessive drag that plain flaps would give. This is totally noticeable through the sticks too. While we're talking about specifics, let's look at how we set this model up. For a receiver, we used a plain Jane Spectrum AR7610 and chose not to install FMS's optionally included Reflex V2 gyro system. We used 30 to 40% expo all around and then 60% on the rudder. If you're not flying from a hard surface, you could probably get by with between 30 to 40%, but adding more expo for hard surfaces doesn't hurt. Battery-wise, we opted to fly ours with a 6S 3300 to keep it light, but FMS recommends using a 4000 pack. We unfortunately just didn't have any of those lying around. We did try using some 6S 5000 packs for the second half of filming this video that rcbattery.com sent us, and the plane handled it no problem. With the 3300s, we set our timer for 4 minutes. With the 5000s, we had it set to 6. If you're interested in getting some of the least expensive, great batteries from someone who doesn't mark their batteries up higher than Seth Rogen, go check out rcbattery.com. Link is in the description. Once your wheel's up, the plane will do practically anything you tell it to. It'll do just about any precision acro you can fantasize over, including some mild 3D. battery's as dead as Russell Wilson getting sacked on repeat and you're ready to come into land, there is one thing to keep in mind when it comes to ground handling. As we said before, this plane loves a good ground loop. The problem is that the tailwheel's mechanical steering design doesn't handle the forces from ground loops all that well. The tailwheel is mechanically connected directly to the rudder, which means that if there's a loss of directional control paired with some side loading, your rudder servo will be taking all the abuse too. This is as opposed to a steering assembly that dampens the load on the servo on some other models. The direct connection, paired with a crappy landing, did unfortunately lead to our rudder servo failing, but thankfully FMS replaced it right away. If yours happens to fail too, it's really easy to access the rudder servo compartment, and it just takes a couple screws to get it out and place the new one in. We're extremely grateful FMS sent us this Beaver because it flies like a Beaver should. It's got characteristics the real plane has, which when combined with the scale details, provide an awesome experience for its pilots. Not to mention, it'll make you a better stick. If you're thinking about getting this model, go check out our affiliate link down below. Specifically, if you're into doing bush conversions, this is an excellent platform to begin with. If this video gets to 700 likes, we'll do our own bush conversion. Happy landings and bounce one on for us. We'll see you next time with a new upload.